Jonathan Taylor went number 1 overall pick in most every single draft because of the year that he had previous. And that guy ended up number 34 on the year. That means there were 33 more running backs, and there's only 32 teams in the league. There was 33 more running backs that did better than he did. Man, that is the absolute letdown of the year.
The fantasy football craze has changed from the last 10 to 15 years. What used to be something that guys got together and had some fun, ate wings and drank beer during the draft, which people still do, has now almost become a full-time job for a lot of people, where people are in 15 to 20 leagues per season. Well, we've got Jarrod Macklin, who's one of those people who also gets into 10 to 15 leagues every single season. Does he have it down to an exact science? No, because just like gambling, and don't get me wrong, fantasy football is gambling, there is no exact science. But we're here today to break down exactly what works, what doesn't work, and also who's in, what good players, who's going to get drafted first. Let's take a look at a deep dive into fantasy football. All right, man. We got our man Jarrod Macklin in here. Hot Soup. How's it going, brother?
Man, everything is good, man. Blessed, man, doing better than I deserve.
Absolutely. I understand. We are talking crazy fantasy football, and you are the fantasy football guru. Fantasy football guru, man. How many leagues do you get into every year, man?
So this year was a down year for me. I usually am in about 20 plus for the past maybe 4 or 5 years. This year I had 17 leagues. I did 10 leagues where I'm drafting with friends and family, and we all meet up at each other's homes. Man, we throw big draft parties, bro. Drink. We eat good, man, and we just sit back. It's really camaraderie, man. At the age we at right now,
Absolutely.
I really don't see my friends like I used to. So, man, it's a blessing, man, just to have that. And we've been actually doing this since 2009.
Okay.
Man, and it started out with one of my friends had a league, and then the next thing you know, the 10 guys that was in his league wanted to do a league. And before you know it, man, everybody got their own league. We do it on different draft dates. Draft season is serious. I'm talking about, man, we do mock drafts starting in July. Just to see, where people are falling, and just you get a gist of what's going to be going on in that year.
Okay.
Some of our leagues we do online because we got some guys in New York, and we got some guys down in Florida, down in Miami, and so we may do some online, but most of them are live. Now,
I gotcha.
The other 7 that I do Yahoo public leagues, and you basically put up 100 or 250 or 500, and you go in a league with a bunch of people you don't even know. And to be honest, man, those are where I win a lot of money at, because people around the world just really don't know what they're doing. They just hurry up and pay, and hey, I'm gonna jump in the league and see what happens. So,
got it. So you're in all these leagues. Obviously, you can't win every one of them, man. But as far as the strategies, because I know there's going to be a lot of people. Everybody does fantasy football. It seems like everybody's into it. I don't know that. I would bet that only about 25% of the people actually have real strategies. You know what I'm saying? When they get into it, a lot of people just play for fun. But for me, it's like if money's involved, then let's put a little thought into this. Let's put a little strategy into this. So as a fantasy football guru, tell us a little bit about what are some of the best strategies that you can take out there.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys some tips, but I'm not going to give you everything because I'm in the league with y'all, and I'm trying to win every time I play. You got to have a draft strategy, number one. Draft is very important. If you noticed in the league that I won in D. Howard's league, I'm a 2-time champion in the LTB varsity. My final team, I had the same 3 running backs that I drafted, and I had the same 2 receivers that I drafted, and the same quarterback that I drafted. My draft strategy is to definitely get running backs and receivers out the door. You can always get a quarterback late in the draft that can actually win a league for you.
Right.
And to be honest with you, man, with running backs, once they start getting hurt, it's like, okay, where do I go? I'm on the waiver wire. I'm looking for a running back. I got a backup because nobody else is available because Hot Soup went and picked up 4 running backs in his first 6 rounds. And I'm talking about, I might go running back, and then come back receiver, and get my quarterback in the 6th or 7th round. With tight ends, man, it's only one really good tight end. I mean, let me rewind. There's a couple good tight ends, but Travis Kelce obviously is the man you want if you're going to go with a tight end early. But other than that, man, you can stream a tight end and play matchups. With tight ends, man, everybody's really close, if that makes sense. You got guys getting about 500 to 700 yards and maybe 6 to 8 touchdowns. And that's going to be from number 3 or number 4 all the way down, the line. So for me, man, to be honest, I stream my tight ends during the season. I also stream my defense. You can go, we always go, we're in the draft and somebody goes and jumps out and gets a defense in the 5th round. And we're like, there it go. Oh, there it go, right? Because a defense, you don't know who they're going to be playing that next week. So they could be playing a top 5 offense 3 weeks in a row that you can't even use them. So you basically are wasting your time trying to get a defense before round 14. In my opinion, I stream a different defense every single week. I find out who's playing the trash offense, who quarterback got hurt, who has the backup quarterback coming in that we know he's going to throw 3 picks, who got a weak line. So that's the defense I go in every week. I stream a new defense. And whoever's playing the worst team in the league, that's the defense I want. And there will always be a defense out there for you to get, trust me. Because, we got some sorry pie teams out here. So, and then, with kicker as well, man. Kicker, you can get a good kicker that's going to get you a lot of points, but you could have a kicker that's been terrible for 3 weeks, 4 weeks straight, but they're going against a defense that just gives up a lot of points to kickers. So I stream my kicker every week as well.
Gotcha. Makes perfect sense. One of the things that, you hear a lot about is draft picks or, in the draft, where you start. Is the number 1 draft pick, is that somebody that you want? For me, it's always been, I don't want that number 1 pick because I don't know too many drafts where it's a regular, like an NFL draft where it goes 1 to 12 and then it goes back to 1. And I'm like, no, most drafts that I've ever been in, matter of fact, all of them are always a snake draft. So you get one and you don't get another guy till 24. I mean, that's difficult, man, to build your team.
Especially.
So number 1 draft pick to me is not important at all. I think somewhere around the 6 to 9 mark is always good, but I may be wrong. You tell me.
I like the 9. I like the 8. I really like the 10. If I can get 10, I'm so happy because this is why. Because you can really build your team. Okay, and the reason I say that is a back-to-back pick, having 10 and then coming back and having the 11. When I come back down to get my next 2 picks, I can build my roster the way I want to build it. And basically saying like, okay, I can get him and him. And then I can get him and him. And really, really, really build a good roster. Number 1 pick, man, a lot of the times, the person who gets the number 1 pick never wins the league. And it was the case this year for those who went out and got Jonathan Taylor.
That was me. You remember that was me. I got him first. And basically, I remember, but I traded him. I traded him in the 4th round after week 4. And all y'all were saying, oh, you're just giving the league away. I said, no, buddy. I go, look at that line. He hadn't been able to do nothing. He's hurt. I go, I don't want him. I don't want him. And turned out, now I didn't win, but I made the playoffs and ended up getting stuff to help me make the playoffs. But you're right, boy. That number 1 pick is just a curse.
It
is.
Just a curse. It's a curse, man. Because, it's a lot of pressure, too, because you got all the options. And it's like, okay, is this guy going to have a down year? And usually that number 1 pick has a down year. So I saw a couple people jump out and get McCaffrey first, which was a smart move, obviously. Christian McCaffrey ended up doing very well, especially when he got traded, man. He went to San Fran and just went off.
Right.
But yeah, man, the number one pick, I'm not feeling it. If I get it, I like to trade it out. If you're at a live draft, if you're not at a live draft and you're doing online, you're stuck with it.
Tell me about draft order. Tell us about draft, or not draft order, but the draft in general, because a lot of people believe you got to draft well to be able to win. I've never thought that. Drafting is important to get the team that you want to kind of build it. I go, but I don't believe that drafting is all that important, because by the end of the season, if you're doing it right, your team doesn't look anything like what it did when you first drafted, because injuries, guys not producing, whatever the case may be. It's almost important. Like, you got to, except for obviously your main people that don't get hurt. But other than that, it's almost like you should flip your roster to be able to win, man. And I know you know a lot about that, more than I do.
I do, man. Anybody will tell you I'm a waiver wire hero. Okay. The thing is, man, I work at Orange Theory Fitness, and I'm up at 4:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, because I got to be to work by 5, right? So I'm up while everybody else is asleep, and I'm on that waiver wire, man. And I'm reading up on information on what's going on with players and who's about to get benched and who's about to come in and get the ball before everybody else gets up. By the time they get up, and they'll do their waiver wire picks, right? But me, I'll set in 10 waivers on each league. And when I do it, everybody's like, dang, man, you spend that much time. And to be honest with you, I just do the same 7, 8 waivers on every single team or wherever I need help. Okay. I'm on the waiver wire when my team is looking like a monster on my starting roster, but I'm trying to build that bench, because you never know when one of your starters is going to get hurt and you need another starter to start. Right. So
Absolutely.
I'm always running back heavy, man. These past 2 years, receivers have really been better than the running backs. But in the 2009, a lot of years, man. We 20 years in, man. So, or 15 years into this thing. So when it comes to my strategy, man, I'm just a running back guy, man. I'm a running back guy. I like the running back in the flex. They're the safest floor. A receiver could go out and get 8, 10 touches one game and come back and get 3 touches the next. That good starting running back, man, is going to get you 20 touches every single game. So your floor is higher, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. And that kind of leads me into my next question is, you see a lot of people draft, but you see a lot of failures. What are the highest, as far as position-wise comes to failures? To me, I think it's running back, just for the simple fact that running back gets hurt. They get hurt. I mean, it is what it is. But go ahead. You're the guru. You tell us, what is the highest position for failure that comes along with fantasy football?
It's the running back. It's the running back, number one, because of injuries. You're going to get more running backs hurt than any other, because they get the ball the most, right? And they're going to get there when a receiver is going across the middle, he's getting hit by a DB. He's not getting hit by a defensive lineman. You know what I'm saying? So these running backs, man, they get hurt easily. And if you're running back, you got your first 2, 3 picks out the gate, your first 3 rounds, and 2 of your first 3 rounds get hurt, it's more than likely it's going to be a struggle to make the playoffs, right? It just is what it is, man. So I'm with you on that, B. Running back would be the position that is the one that is going to be hurt the most.
Gotcha. All right, so let's do a little recap from this past year. Who do you think, as far as, who were the 5 letdowns of fantasy football this past year, and then the 5 surprises? Who do you have on your list?
On my list, man, obviously number 1 is Jonathan Taylor, because he went number 1 overall. Jonathan Taylor went number 1 overall pick in most every single draft because of the year that he had previous. And that guy ended up number 34 on the year. That means there were 33 more running backs, and there's only 32 teams in the league. There was 33 more running backs that did better than he did. Man, that is the absolute letdown of the year. And what's even crazier to me is he was only hurt like 1 or 2 games. Like, he actually played and was getting the pill, but he was doing absolutely nothing with it, man. And it, like you said, man, it goes to his line being trash. You know, he was
Trash.
Yeah, he was getting hit in the backfield, -2 yards every time he got the ball. So, you know, you can't really blame him too much. That's more of a coaching and ways that the coaches can get him the ball, and also, you know, due to their line just being pie. Number two let down to me, DeAndre Swift went in the second round. He was going in the second round, Mr. 2000. I don't know if y'all remember him barking that he's going to be a 2,000-yard guy this year. And he ended up 21 overall. His season was decent, but the fact that Jamal Williams came in and stole 17 touchdowns from him, and they were giving Jamal Williams that pill. He had more carries than DeAndre. And DeAndre wasn't even hurt, man. So it was just one of those. I don't know if y'all remember when Adrian Peterson had a ridiculous year and came back the next year saying he was going to hit 2,000 and ended up with like 1,100 yards rushing, which for AP, man, that was just a flop. You know, this is Adrian Peterson we're talking about, guaranteed 120 yards a game guy. So, you know, I think what I'm going to do in the future myself is if I got a guy barking about 2,000, I'm not touching him. I feel like the defenses take that shit like, you know what? It ain't happening. They take it personal. Like, we are going to smash this guy in the mouth every time he gets the ball. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, big letdown for me. Another one was Keenan Allen. And it was due to some injuries. You know, he was out for the first half of the season, but, you know, you go out and get Keenan Allen in the second and third round. Keenan Allen ended up 41st overall receiver, man. For Keenan Allen, that's a letdown, man. You know, it's a lot of people out there that was picking him over, you know, guys, Tyreek Hill. You know, they was picking Keenan Allen because they know he's a PPR monster. But that just goes to show, man, that injuries, bro, play a big role in fantasy football.
And his was a bad one for a receiver because it was his hamstring.
Yeah.
I mean, I was another one. Again, I'm guilty. I took him early. I took him in the third round, and he was out 8 weeks. And it wasn't so much he get out 8 weeks. It was his first catch of the daggone season. I'm like, come on, man.
Come on,
it's
man.
terrible.
Come on.
Terrible.
Man. And you know what was even crazier is you thought, like, they were saying, like, in week 4, oh, he might start. And in week 5, he might start. Week 6, he might start. And it just kept lingering and lingering.
Yes.
I had picked him up in the third round myself in a couple leagues, man. And he was that's why I got a bitter taste in my mouth with Keenan Allen. Another guy who just flopped the bed he just flopped, was Darren Waller. Okay, Darren Waller was if you wasn't getting Travis Kelce, you were going to go get Kittle or Waller that year or last year. And Darren Waller went in the third round and ended up 31st overall tight end, man. That's like, I could have went and got Dawson Knox in the 10th, you know, and would have had a stellar season compared to what Darren Waller put up this year, man. So,
right.
And I think that has a lot to do with Devontae Adams becoming the number one over there and the number one option, the number one target. And we all know Derek Carr, when, you know, Derek Carr's going to feed him. And that's what they did. They force feeded him. And Darren Waller was just like, who was that? You know what I'm saying? So,
well, another thing with it, if you think about McDaniels and his offense, even though in New England he had Gronk was never leading the league in receptions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't doing. Now, he was part of the offense, a huge part of the offense, but he wasn't never leading the league.
Yeah.
And they never had a receiver, you know, the caliber outside of the 1 year with Randy Moss or a couple years with Moss.
Yeah.
They never had a receiver the caliber of Devontae Adams. I just think they didn't know how to use Waller and should have used him in better situations. But yeah, you're right, man. You talk about a letdown. That was awful.
That was awful. And then Kyle Pitts. I must just name out another tight end, man. He was supposed to be that guy. Like, Kyle Pitts is going to be getting the ball in Atlanta. That's all they had. You know, they had the rookie, but other than that, who are they going to throw the ball to? So it was like, it's a no-brainer. He plays receiver and tight end. So it's like, okay, this guy's going to get 180 targets. You know, we're thinking he's going to be putting up 8-10 catches a game, at least, you know, 8 tuds to 10 tuds. Man, that guy ended up 33. He was going third round too, man. Ended up 33 times. He was worse than Waller. Kyle Pitts
Yeah.
had a worse year than Darren Waller, and Darren Waller had a just
Yeah, that was bad. The thing about Pitts, and it's just what you said, everybody thought that he was going to have it. I was one of those people, though, that said nope, because I know who his quarterback is.
yeah.
And they couldn't throw the football. And it turns out they could actually run the ball really well.
Yeah.
But when you got Mariota, I don't care what nobody says, Mariota is Mariota for a reason.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what they're doing at the quarterback position, but I knew they're not going to be able to throw the football. And Pitts was going to suffer because I think Pitts is actually good.
He is.
But when you got Mariota as your quarterback, brother, nah, buddy.
He's been back up in the league. He's been on so many different teams for a reason, man. You know, can't read the field. You know, I mean, he has a decent arm, but he can't read.
Well, he's trying to run it first before he does anything.
Yeah, run first. Yeah, definitely.
Well, tell us about, we went through 5 people, that underachieved. Give us the 5 steals that happened this past year, the top 5 steals.
In my opinion, steal number 1 was Amari Cooper. All right. Everybody thought, he's going to the Browns. He's not going to have all they do is run the ball. Man, that guy, I got that guy in the 9th round. Okay. Got him in the 10th round in a couple leagues. 10th round, right? This guy was number 10 overall receiver. Number 10 this year. He finished number 10. And when I say he helped me win a championship or 2. So, Amari Cooper, to me, was my number 1 steal of the year. Tony Pollard. Nobody expected Tony Pollard to have the year he had. Tony Pollard was going in the 9th and the 10th round, and he ended up number 8 running back overall this year. He just basically, Zeke took a back seat to Tony. He's a better pure runner. He's way more explosive than Zeke. They had to give Zeke the ball still, so they turned him into the goal line guy. Yeah, understandable. Ezekiel Elliott, feed me. But, man, feed Tony Pollard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I want to throw a tight end in there. Nobody thought this guy was going to do anything, man. TJ Hockenson. I had on a couple of I went and grabbed him. TJ Hockenson went in the 9th and the 10th round and ended up the number 2 tight end scoring on the year. That's just goes to show that, hey, man, just because these guys got big names and they had a big year last year doesn't mean it's going to be the same thing in the upcoming year. So, we got to think about that when we're doing our draft strategy. Who has the highest floor? Who's the safest guy to get? That guy, TJ Hockenson, went off.
Right.
Yeah, definitely, man. Another Devontae Smith. Devontae.
Yes.
Wasn't nobody getting Devontae was going in the 11th and the 12th round, right?
He was.
Ended up better than Amari Cooper, the number 9 receiver on the year overall, and you could get him in the 11th. So people who drafted that guy and kept him on the team and didn't trade him off, because, the beginning of the year wasn't the greatest for him, but when that guy got hot and Jalen got hot, boy, they was something else, man. Him and A.J. Brown, bro. Him and A.J. Brown was, that was a steal of the year for me, man.
Well, here's mine. And not 5, but here's the steal that I personally think was the steal of fantasy football. And you mentioned him earlier, is Jamal Williams from Detroit. Because, I'll be honest, I'm not sure he got drafted anywhere before 12, 13, if he got drafted at all, because everybody thought it was going to be Swift and Jamal Williams would get some carries when he got his carries, maybe 5, 8 carries a game. And the man has 17 touchdowns. He broke the Lions record for touchdowns on the season. More than Barry Sanders. So for me, that was my number 1 steal as far as sleeper picks in the draft, because that man, like I said, I would bet you in 60% of the drafts around the country, he didn't get drafted at all.
He didn't.
In
our LTB varsity league, he went 16th round, last round.
There you go.
So you got people picking defenses in the 11th round, 10th round, and you got your boy Jamal, Mr. 17 touchdowns. That I was gonna name him. Another guy that I thought had a great year was Christian Kirk.
Yeah, he did. A lot of people didn't give him credit because of that contract.
Yep.
And it's crazy, but he had a great season. And he was basically their guy to throw the football to.
He was the man. Ended up number 12 overall. Got drafted in the 12th round. So, to get that type of steal in the 12th round, and that just goes back to what we were talking about, man, how you can get a lot of value. Why are you picking a defense in the 10th round when you got guys out here that can win you a league? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Well, people got to study too, bro, because here's the thing. If people based Kirk's performance, kind of what we talked about with Mariota and Pitts, they based it off of what Trevor Lawrence did last year. Well, look, Trevor Lawrence was the first draft pick overall. He was getting a new coach that was a quarterback-friendly coach. You got to do your homework because you knew he was going to get better under Doug Peterson.
Yep.
And he did.
And he did.
And Kirk benefited from that. So it's like, there's a lot into this fantasy stuff, man. People don't study enough. They don't look at it enough.
Do your homework.
And you got to do your homework. So
you got to watch preseason football. That's big, man. That you can learn a lot about somebody's offensive line and defensive line when you're watching preseason football. That's one.
Absolutely.
And you might have an average running back, but you might want to get that guy in the 8th round because of how he was looking in the preseason. You know what I'm saying? You can learn a lot about a player in that preseason football. So gotta watch.
Well, and it's a thing for me. It's painful to watch preseason football, but if you're trying to take fantasy serious, you got to at least watch a couple of quarters when the starters and the backers or, the number 2s are in there. You got to pay attention because just like you said, you can learn, especially offensive line play.
Yes.
You will learn a lot about offensive line play because either it's good or it's bad.
Yes.
And if it's bad, boy, that running back that they got, you got to take a look at it.
Stay away.
So here we go. Let's go and way too early. Who are going to be? We'll break it down by position, man. So way too early before free agency, before the draft. Who do you have as each position is going to be the first player taken in each position? We'll start off with running back.
Okay. You got Austin Eckler, who was the number 1 running back this year in fantasy football, who I had on my championship team. Got him number 3. And you got Christian McCaffrey, who is an absolute animal in San Francisco. He was better in San Francisco than he was in Carolina. San Francisco utilized him a lot better. That system is built for a running back like him, where he can catch the ball and run the ball. And he's able to get a breather. In Carolina, he didn't get a breather. You got Mitchell running the ball between the tackles, man. So, Christian McCaffrey gets a break, meaning that less injury, prone. But Eckler is strong, bro. He is a animal. I'm talking about physically. He is an animal. And to me, I'm going to take the higher floor. And to me, the higher floor is going to be Austin Eckler. There is nobody else over there. He's shown year in and year out that he is durable enough to get the ball as much as he does and not get injured. So, to me, Christian McCaffrey has a more of an injury history than Austin Eckler. So I'm going Austin Eckler all day long. If I had the choice to pick Eckler or I had the choice to pick McCaffrey, obviously your boy Derrick Henry is always going to get you, 1,400, 1,500 yards. If you're in a PPR league, he drops down on your, to pick who we going to pick first. If it's a PPR league, he's falling down to, number 8, number 9, as far as, top 10 picks. So if it's a standard league and it doesn't, and catches don't count, he's up there in your top 3. So it just depends on the league, depends on the bonus structure and how the points are set up.
Gotcha. The thing that I don't like about Derrick Henry, and it's not even his fault, he got basket case Tannehill as his quarterback, man. Yeah. And when you got him as your quarterback, it's hard to get, especially now, when they gave away their best receiver. They don't really have anybody that's that good. I'm assuming they'll take at least 2 receivers in this upcoming draft.
Yeah. But
it's just, and Henry's body's getting older. I mean, he got hurt again this year. It just like any running back, it starts to break down. I love Henry, but it makes it difficult when, again, you do your homework and you got Basket Case Tannehill's your QB, offensive line that's not very good,
Mm-hmm.
and his body's breaking down.
Yeah, yeah.
I like Eckler too, man. I like Eckler too.
Yep.
So let's move on. Let's go wide receiver. Who do you think, again, way too early, but who is going to be, I mean, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them kind of right in that group together. Who do you got as the number one guy?
Your top four receivers right now are going to be Tyreek Hill. They're going to be Justin Jefferson, and it's going to be Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's coming off an injury. If he wouldn't not have gotten injured, he would have probably again been the number one receiver in fantasy football this year. He was on just a horrid pace. Like he might have caught 1,800 yards and 14, 15 touchdowns the way he was working at the beginning of the season, but got injured. All right, so I'm coming off an injury for the first time, like a significant injury. Do I want to pick somebody coming off a significant injury opposed to get me a young Justin Jefferson? So how I look at it is like you're just talking about wear and tear on the body, right? Devontae Adams is the man, but he's all they got over there, right? Who's going to be open every time? The work ethic in Justin Jefferson. He's young. I feel like he's going to have an even better season next year. Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle over there. Tyreek Hill's the man, but to me, in my opinion, if I had to pick a receiver to be my number one pick, I'm going with Justin Jefferson. He's an absolute animal. He's high pointing the ball over everyone. He is the best receiver, in my opinion, in the NFL. And he has a very, very capable quarterback along with a very, very capable running game, meaning that,
Mm-hmm.
your linebackers have to come up, right? You got Adam Thielen, who is a really decent receiver. I mean, he's on the down decline, so he's not going to be getting the ball like he used to. They're going to be throwing to Justin Jefferson just on a regular basis. They're going to feed that man. And, he hasn't been injured. He's young, fresh legs. And to me, man, he's the most versatile out of all the receivers. He's taller than Tyreek. If Tyreek has some height on him, I go with Tyreek. Don't get me wrong. But what's Tua's future? What's Tua? We don't know Tua's future. So to me, Kirk Cousins, consistently, he's serviceable. He's consistently throwing up decent quarterback numbers. You can draft Kirk Cousins and feel comfortable about getting you a solid 20 points every game, and that's because of Justin Jefferson. So, and they built continuity, man, together. So to me, in my eyes, I'm going Justin Jefferson with my number one receiver pick this season.
Gotcha. What about Diggs? I always throw Diggs in there because I like Diggs. Mm-hmm. I like Diggs. But, a lot of people, and then again, and this will bring me to my next question, talking about who is going to be your number one quarterback, is Josh Allen. I think people got to separate what you do as far as playoff or winning games versus fantasy numbers. And I don't think enough people can separate the two, because Josh Allen will throw you a pick.
Yeah.
He'll actually throw you two, and you just got to catch them both.
Yeah.
He'll turn the football over.
He will.
But as far as fantasy numbers, he's a monster.
He's a monster.
Because they refuse to give the ball to a running back in Buffalo. I don't know. I put a post up last year when he got hit one time. I thought, he's hurt. I'm like, why don't you all give the ball to a running back? They just refuse to do it. It's almost like they're trying to get him hurt or something.
Yeah.
And I just feel not enough people separate that. Hey, can they win the game? Like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins isn't always going to win you games. Mm-hmm. He's going to make some mistakes, but Kirk Cousins is a solid 20 points. So having said that, let's transition into who do you have as your number one quarterback for next year?
Number 2 and 3 are going to be between Hurts and Allen. Josh Allen, he spreads the ball very well, and that's why I didn't mention Diggs in those top receivers. Because he spread, like Diggs he'll blow up for a 200-yard game and 3 touchdowns, and the next game go off for 37 yards and 4 catches. So Josh Allen's known to spread the ball around. He has a decent tight end. He was throwing to Davis. He was throwing there's other receivers there that are very capable So Josh Allen likes spreading the ball. You're right. He likes running. I think he's injury prone more than Jalen Hurts. So Josh Allen would be my number 3 pick. Jalen Hurts, man, I like him. And the reason why I like him in fantasy is because if they're on the 4-yard line or 3-yard line and going in, they're not running the ball to anyone. They're not giving it to Miles Sanders. They're not going to throw the ball. They're going to let that man who, leg presses 600 pounds or something crazy. They're just going to let him rush the ball. The man had, I don't know how many rushing touchdowns this year. It was ridiculous. And anytime it was, 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, it was a no-brainer. They would just go for it and get it every single time. I'd say if they did that 4th and 2 50 times, he's getting it 45 times. He's going to make it. They couldn't stuff it.
Yep.
They couldn't stop it, right? So I like that, man. I like that at the goal line situation. However, Patty Mahomes threw for 5,000 yards, and he does it on a consistent basis with less talent. If they get that guy, another Tyreek Hill or another receiver with Travis Kelce, man, he's undoubtedly, in my mind, the number 1 guy to go to. He plays through injuries. We've seen it several times where he gets injured and he plays through it, man. He's tough as nails. He's the MVP. How are you going to go against Patty Mahomes? He's putting up Tom Brady numbers early in his career. Like they're already, saying he's the number 3 quarterback of all time, and he's still young. Man. Fresh legs. I mean, if he needs to run the ball, he can still run the ball, get the first down. That Patty Mahomes, man, that's my guy. He's going to be the number 1 quarterback to come off from me next year. I don't care what type of weapons he got, man. They just threw that guy anything, and he can make it happen. So just imagine if they give him a wide receiver 1.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because he was running out with a bunch of 2s and 3s this year as his wide receiver and still put up the numbers that he did.
Yeah.
It's just insane how good he is in that Andy Reid. Well, technically, I guess now we know it's an Andy Reid offense.
Mm-hmm.
So lastly here, we'll wrap it up with who is as far as the tight end position. I think this one kind of speaks for itself, but are there any surprises? Who will be the number 1 tight end next year?
None. 0. You got who's Patty Mahomes throwing to? There it is. Travis Kelce. He's been consistent year in, year out. He's not falling off, man. He's staying top of his game. He can always get open. He's a big tight end. So, as far as getting injured, guy never gets injured. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. It would be Travis Kelce. I don't even have anybody else in my mind that I would try to put up with him. Even T.J. Hockenson, as good as a year he had, he don't got Patty Mahomes throwing to him, man. And when Patty Mahomes is in trouble and he needs a first down, guess where he's going?
Absolutely. I mean, and my thing is, I like Kittle. I do, but he gets hurt too much.
Yep.
He's always hurt. I know he's a really good blocker, but he's always hurt. And so when you're always hurt, you can't be considered, especially in fantasy football, you can't be considered one of the top guys because if you're getting hurt, I mean, you can't help us.
No,
so
you can't. Exactly, man. That's
gotcha.
Injury. I think about injuries when I'm drafting. Who got injured last year? How long was he out? Was he injured the year before? Okay, so this guy misses 3-4 games. I don't want him.
That's the thing with Kittle. He misses games every year. It's not just 1 year where he's missing games. He's missing 3 or 4 games every single season. So I get it, man. It makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Any other surprises anywhere else that you see from any other position that may pop in, early? Again, this is the way too early edition of all this. So that's why I like doing it. But is there anybody that you see that may surprise or anything like that from any of the positions?
Let me think. Now, off the top of my head, man, it's too early.
The one person that I think is going to take a jump is going to be Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Justin Fields, they got $97 million in cap space. There you go with the Bear. If they can't figure out how to get a line, get some guys around him that he can throw the football to, if they can't figure that out, they got to sell the team and fire everybody because you got $97 million in cap space plus all these draft. I mean, what if you can't figure it out, then they got to be able to just putting anybody out there. Throw some money at some people.
Draft prospects. There is a 6'4" receiver that weighs 215. If they can get Justin, I forgot what his name is. What is his name? He is in the top 10 right now. He's the only receiver in the top 10 as far as draft prospects. I forgot his name, but he's 6'4". We already got Claypool. Now, Claypool didn't change anything, really. He didn't, man.
No.
But
I was so happy and I say we as the Steelers, that we got rid of Claypool. I was so happy.
Yeah. To me, Justin Fields' success as a passer is going to determine on if the Bears can get a number one receiver. We have the draft picks to do it. I forgot this kid's name, man. I want to look it up real quick. But I know he's a 6'4" receiver. He weighs 215, and he's coming out of oh my God, I don't know why this just slipped my mind. But if we can get that kid, being a top 10 prospect overall, top 10 prospect, and have a target for Justin to hit,
right.
deep possession receiver, anything like that with Claypool on the other side, man. And if Justin can just slide, okay, stop trying to put his shoulder down and run through people, man. If he can just, like Kyler Murray is a genie when it comes to running and not getting hit. If Justin can learn that, man, he will be a top 5 quarterback in the league. You see, he had a stretch where in fantasy, he was throwing up 170 rushing yards, 150 rushing yards, 2 or 3 TDs. He went on a terror for, I want to say, week 7 through like week 11, man. Like just a straight tear to show us and everybody in the world what he can really do. If he can stay in the pocket, get a receiver where he can hit, and then only run when the opportunity presents itself, man, the sky's the limit for that guy, and the sky's the limit for the Bears offense, man. They got really 2 good running backs in David Montgomery and Herbert. I like the tight end Kmet, man. He's young as well. And Herbert's young, explosive. And David Montgomery, a lot of people didn't like him, man. To me, he is a good running back. He's not going to be a top 5 guy, but he can get the job done, So, yeah, man, if we can get a one receiver and then build that defense, the Bears going to be talking about something, man. But I've been a Bears fan, man. I'm from Chicago. I've been a Bears fan for a long time, man. We ain't won one since 85, bro. Okay? And the reason is our front office is just they always make the wrong pick. Trubisky over Pat Mahomes, man. I'm going to say that and just be done with the conversation.
Yeah, no, I understand. I've been there. It's, as a Steelers fan, we don't suffer like that. So I'm not trying to tell you that, but I absolutely understand where you're coming from with it, man. I just think if they can build a line and protect Fields a little bit, get him a weapon or two to throw the football to, I think they will be okay. I think he'll have a huge fantasy year because the numbers are going to be there running, but they won't. It'll get spread out because he's not going to have to run as much. He'll be able to throw the ball down the field. Now, he's going to have to take that extra leap again because, he kind of waits for receivers to get open versus, anticipating them to get open. But I think a lot of that is the kid's gun shy and he's running around like, okay, if you're not open, I got to run this because I know if I take a second longer, I'm going to get hit by somebody. Hopefully he can make that, or the Bears can make that investment and make a leap, and he can take a huge stride in fantasy. So, and just to kind of wrap this up, fantasy football for me has always been fun, but I take it a little bit more serious because, like I said, there's money involved. And if there's money involved, you got to take it more serious. How do you think, and this is a question that came to me, from outside, I do other podcasts and stuff like that. Somebody asked me this question, so I'm going to pose it to you because you are fantasy football guru. How do you think gambling in general is going to affect fantasy football? Just outside gambling, because gambling is becoming, legalized everywhere in America these days. I think they said in the next 3 years, 47 states are going to have legalized gambling. Do you think that's going to affect how fantasy football is played? Because in my eyes, I think it has to.
It has to, right? It has to, because now you got the football players in the past that weren't able to play fantasy, and now they can.
Mm-hmm.
So in the NFL, they you're up 30 points, right? You're up 30 points as an actual team playing another team, so it's a blowout, right? But Tyreek Hill, he's on his own fantasy team, and he's going to be looking like, Coach, let me get this rock, like, you know what I'm saying? So I think it definitely affects it, just kind of like a bonus. If I get 2 more catches in this game, I'm going to get my game bonus. Is my coach going to play me, or is he going to go ahead and show me love because I've been here, every day being consistent and showing up for the team. So to be honest, yeah, man, I think gambling has a lot to do with fantasy football, but not where it's going to change the trajectory of fantasy football, if that makes
I
sense.
gotcha. Well, the one thing about it is fantasy football. I mean, people don't want to think of it that way, but fantasy football is gambling. I mean,
Yes,
it just is.
it
So,
is.
if you try to separate the two, that's where I'm like, yeah, you can't separate the two because it's literally gambling. I go,
Yeah.
so it is what it is. Hey, man, we appreciate you jumping on here. Tell us what you have going on, man. Tell us a little bit about that.
All right. So, 7 years ago, my daughter wanted a track team for. I was living in Clearwater, and I took her to the Blazing Ravens in Clearwater, Florida, a track team, man. And I came on, and I'm a track guy, man. I went to Eastern Illinois University. I was 2-time athlete of the year. I still have my 400-meter record at the university to this day. That was back in 2001. That was set. And I wanted my kids to be a part of track and field. So it's not just about, okay, let me become a professional. We're learning life lessons, and even as a youth athlete, they can learn life lessons about hard work and how to be consistent. And they take that and they take it into their real life. Started in Clearwater, and the coach is like, "Yo, what's going on? You know how to coach and this." I said, "Man, I do track and field. This is what I do." So he ended up bringing me on as a coach. I loved it, but I moved from Clearwater to Tampa and moved to Westchase, Florida. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just start my own track club. All right, it's called Westchase Cheetahs. First year we had 13 kids come out. Man, we did real decent. The next year it was like 25 kids. The next year it went to 40 kids. The next year is 60 kids. We are going into year number 7 this year. I'm at 80 kids on my roster. I have multiple national champions last year. I had the fastest relay in the world, age group 9 and 10. I've had the fastest 100 and 200-meter runner for the past 4 years, Isaiah Lassiter. And then, now that I had that, it was like everybody wants to come and run with Westchase Cheetahs. So now we've built an empire, man. I'm talking about we're trying to be top 5 teams in the United States of America right now. I got great coaches, man, 8 coaches. Everybody has track and field experience or former NFL players. And this thing, man, I say we going to the top. I had a kid win the high jump last year, age group 9-10 at Junior Olympics. I also had an 8-year-old that threw a javelin further than anyone has ever thrown a javelin in the history of Junior Olympics. He broke the Junior Olympic record by 8 feet. So I don't know if you ever heard of Blaze before, but he's a football phenom. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah, he's also on my team.
Okay.
So he's going to get to run with the kids who won Junior Olympics last year, man. So it's a beautiful thing. And what I do now is I do hot soup, speed training. I got that name. I play flag football down here in Florida on the national and state level. I started my own training business where I do group training. I get 10 kids together. I do it for a low rate for parents, $25 a session for an hour is super cheap. For me, it makes sense. I go out, make the 200, 250 an hour, and I train them on speed, agility, mobility, flexibility, acceleration, deceleration, agility, and all that, man. So they want to get their kids faster, stronger, and more endurance, more speed endurance. They bring them to me.
Gotcha. Is there a place or a website or anything that they can find you?
I don't have a website yet,
Okay.
but I can plug y'all with my phone number. It's 813-849-3900. You can contact me anytime. You have a youth athlete in the Tampa Bay area and you want them to get them some speed training, man, give me a call, man. My name's Coach Mack, a.k.a. Hot Soup.
Absolutely, man. Well, that's good stuff. Great stuff. Not good stuff. That's great stuff what you're doing, man. Appreciate you not only doing that, but taking the time to school us a little bit on the fantasy football. And, as things come around, we're going to have you back,
Yes,
to
sir.
have you come on here. I know you talk a ton of smack, which gets on my nerves, and I got to listen to it all the time. But I love it, though. I love
Oh
it,
yeah,
though,
man.
man. So,
That's what it's all about, man. Just having fun,
absolutely.
having fun with the fellas,
Absolutely.
man. This is one of
So,
my trophies. One of my guys leagues out in New York that I'm holding on to right now, man. I lost two of my trophies. A lot of our leagues have trophies. I lost two of them this year, man, because of the last game of the year. I had Josh Allen going. I could have won them both, but you know how it goes, man. You know what happened this year with the cancellation of the game. So, we're just happy that the young man that was in question, man, is up, healthy, and
right.
living, man. Real talk.
I got you. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for joining us. And we will have you back soon.
Definitely, man. Appreciate you, B.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.